show. Today is December 23rd, 2020, as the build-up to the Christmas season continues. Today we take our time on midweek to discuss developments in the micro, small and medium enterprise space. And we'll be looking at what has been an eventful year. Policy and MSME developments in Nigeria, learning points in 2020. With me to lead this conversation is Mr. Bayo Ogunnusi. He's the CEO of TQM Capital. Good morning and nice to have you on the show, Bayo.
Good morning.
Yes, morning. The year started already, and then, of course, the disruption of the pandemic, COVID-19, came on board and really had its impact on the activities in the economy. Can you take us through how this impacted businesses and how the government responded in Nigeria? Case example, would you say that response was sufficient enough to help stabilize the challenges that business faced throughout the year?
First of all, let's talk about the impact. For me, all the sectors in the economy have been impacted. So I'll break it down to 5 different parts. We'll speak about the fiscal and the government. We'll speak about the monetary aspect, the financial markets, and the business and SMEs, and also the individuals, how they've been impacted. So let me tell you, for example, in terms of fiscal government, there's lots of revenue, there's a lot of pressure on the government. Revenues are dwindling, all prices are coming down, and you can see that even production is coming down. So the debt is going up. In the history of Nigeria, I think this is the highest amount of debt we've experienced. And I'm just afraid for the future of our children. May God help us. In terms of monetary, look at the exchange rate. It's not stable. It's just going up. In fact, to even get the USD now, dollar now, it is so. Apart from that, it's scarce. It is very expensive. It's being devalued daily. And based on these 5 angles that I'm going to talk about, you can see the effect on the normal average man or the small business. Now, for the financial markets, FDI is declining. Money is not coming in as we expect. For SMEs, of course, there are lots of defaults. Lots of small businesses have taken facilities, taking loans for their business. Huge defaults. They can't even pay back the loans. They can't run the business. They can't pay salaries. And it's almost affecting everybody. For individuals, there's pressure on their income, consumption power. People can't even afford to feed. If you go on the street, just take a small research. I've done it. Go on the street, see young guys carrying backpacks. I saw a young guy, almost like a graduate, carrying a backpack, and a young girl, like the guy and his sister. And they approached me that, please, sir, can you give us some small money to eat? I was shocked. That is the kind of situation that we are facing. Most of us that we're having meetings on Zoom, we don't know the real impact on it is a major problem. Yeah. So for me, that's the impact of COVID on the economy generally, the fiscal government, the monetary policies, the financial markets, the business SMEs, and the individual. Now, what has government done and what is the effect of what they have done? So if you look at it from the point of view of CBN finance, for example, the CBN has said for all the businesses that are owing, give them extra 1-year moratorium on repayment, reduce the interest rate on all intervention funds from 9% to 5%. They've created a 50 billion target SME fund, created a 75 billion survival fund, 100 billion intervention on healthcare, and for the trader money, farmer money, and market money, they also extended and gave moratoriums. Generally, what the government has done. You see, last time we had a discussion on this kind of things, I told you one thing that is missing, and that until we get that thing right, any intervention, there will always be a disconnect, is data. Data. The last time I spoke about data. Now, yes, everything that government has done, laudable, if you are laudable, they are pushing money out, they're trying to encourage, to reduce the impact, palliatives, and so on and so forth. There's a disconnect because they don't have adequate data. So what you realize is that as the funds are coming out, it's not touching, it's not getting to the core of the people that it needs to get to. The businesses, the SMEs that need to get this, they are not getting it. So what you realize is that the rate of unemployment, business failures, business crashes is still going up, despite what the government is doing. So what I'm saying is that the government is doing so much. Yes, we give kudos to them, but there's a disconnect because they don't have the correct data and information to channel those resources to the right places. So for me, those are the impacts and the intervention that the government has been trying to put together.
Very, very well stated, Mr. Bayo.
And it just shows how in-depth you are into this space. But following up on what you said, data points have been a challenge. You said so. State governments this year even said they had to improve their data capture for states that wanted to carry out interventions for businesses. What are those improvement areas to harness data? Because the SMEDAN, the Small Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria, that gives us the database of the MSMEs that we have in the country, over 40 million. What other data points or data collector can we harness to get the correct information and know how we can intervene across sectors and ensure that people are feeling the impact like you rightly said?
I'm going to be very direct here. Just this morning, about 5 minutes ago, I went online to try to link my name, that is identity
number. That's an identity number, yeah, with your SIM card.
To all my lines. And I went online, very easy. I went to MTN online, and I was able to do it in less than 2 minutes. I captured my picture, and I've linked my MTN, linked my Airtel, and linked my Blue Line. I have done it in less than 5 minutes where I'm sitting. Now, where I'm going is that MTN, they have data of who I am. They have my picture. They have my biometrics. The Nigerian Immigration Service, they have information about who I am, my picture, my address, everything with them. My bank, they have information about my address, about what I do. They have my bio data sitting with them. And I've done biometrics. I have BVN. Where else do we go to where they say we should capture? Now, the question is now, the government is sitting on data. I don't know who are the people that formulate policies and the ones that execute or implement those policies. But what I know for a fact is that there is no harmonization or there is no thought process in this data they are collecting. I'm telling you that all the networks, if we say over 100 million people or over 150 million people have a mobile line in Nigeria today. Now, for these guys to have a mobile line, forget about NIN, forget about the identity number. They have a mobile line. That means there is data sitting with the mobile operators. Now, all the government needs to do is to harmonize data. Some of them don't have international passports, and most of them have bank accounts. We can harmonize and begin to match. I am telling you, if this exercise is conducted in the next 3 to 6 months, we can have data for as much as almost half of the population of this country. Data that relates to who they are, where they are, their location, what they do, and their phone numbers. When we have that data, it is now easy. It will be easier to implement policies. So your question is, what are the other points that we can get this data? I just gave you like 3, 4 examples. Now, the government is saying we should go and register our NIN and link it to our networks. Everybody is running up and down. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So data is already available, but they are not mining it effectively and efficiently. That's the problem. That's the problem. Everybody has a mobile line. In fact, every driver, every organizer, they have a mobile phone. We can use what we have. There's no need to reinventing the wheel. We can use what we have to get what we want. But because of political will, because of selfish interest, because of I don't know what they're trying to achieve, why do I need to have a BVN I have a need. I'm going to passport. I have to do this. I have to do. I have pressed my finger in so many places. Why can't we harmonize and have one? So for me, the information,
harmonizing our data, yeah,
exactly, and data points, they are already available. Let's just improve on it. For the guys that don't have need, but they have a mobile phone, why don't just on their phone? See, a typical illiterate they know how to use star 111 stars. They know how to do it. Just give them the instruction to register your name or to do something. Press star 222#. When you do it, this is what will come out. Harmonize the data, and everybody, and we can know your location. The MTN can tell us, oh, there are 50 million, there are 2 million people in Kenya. We can know your location. Once you know your location, the next level is, let's know what you do. Let's know your business. I said it before, a year or two, we can harmonize, gather, and get all this data. And before you know it, it will be easier for government when they're formulating policies, when they're bringing out funds. Now, there's an assumption that because of COVID-19, let us bring out healthcare fund. It's an assumption. The other businesses that are suffering, who is going to support them? So if you have data, the kind of fund that you're going to bring out will be channeled towards the information that, oh, based on the data we have, we actually thought there are more pharmacies. Apparently, there are more restaurants. So let's bring out a fund that will support the food industry. It doesn't mean that we won't support health industry, but the decisions and the policies that we make will be based on the information and data we have.
Very clear point you've made, Mr. Bayo, based on the data points. And then in terms of interventions, finally, on this part, the president rolled out
a waiver for registration of businesses, over 200,000. Should this continue into, like, every year, we continue with this particular number so that we can encourage more people to go to that seamless place of registration?
Can you ask that question again? I didn't get that question.
The president this year, as part of the interventions, rolled out a free registration process for businesses. What I'm saying is that that is one initiative and intervention to help ease registration of small businesses. Should this be a continuous process annually so that we can capture more and ease the process for people to register their business?
Yes, every continuous process, but it's just, it's not a means to an end. It's just a process. It doesn't solve the problem. So because I've registered my business for free, then what next? Yes. I think what we should talk about is more of the karma, because it's part of what you sent to me.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get to the karma, yeah. But that registration process should be a continuous exercise. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Definitely. So in terms of the company,
that was a big one for this year. It was signed into law. When you look at it and the pathway for businesses, growth, development, and empowerment, what are the key points you can take away from it and what should be improvised in it? Like, it has been agreed that every 3 or 4 years, we should look back at karma and look at how we can improve it to align with the realities in the country.
Very, very important. I've gone through that document, and I think it's a very good thing for the small businesses or for the ease of doing business in Nigeria. And so for me, I can bring out some points, then we discuss it. One of them, that they now allow one person to form a limited liability company rather than before that it has to be 2 or more. So what we always realize that, if I want to start a business, I call a friend, I call this, I say, no, I don't want to join you, or I don't trust you. And you can't start a business on your own. That has been eliminated. Another one is the reduction of the minimum issue share capital. It was 1 million. Now they brought it down. Now that common seal is no longer mandatory, which, you are trying to do a document, you have to seal, but now that is gone. Reduction of filing fees. That is there. Company secretary is no longer compulsory. Virtual meetings can now hold. Unlike before that, you must have a physical AGM or EGM. Now, they allow virtual meetings. For me, you see, the truth is that the KAMA 2020 has a positive effect on the ease of doing business in the country, but does not have a major or direct effect on small businesses. As a small business, we can decide to register as an individual, as a sole proprietorship, and once you do that, all what I've just explained is not relevant. I don't need to do AGM or EGM. I'm a sole proprietor. So the question that you asked, and the answer is, the next time they're going to review this, I think more emphasis should be placed on the sole proprietorship and the small businesses, very, very, very small business, the micro businesses. The only way those guys can grow is if this kind of there are inputs that can support them. Because what this has done is, there is micro, small, medium, and enterprise. Yes. For the micro and the small, everything the points I brought out now for the micro and the small is not, it's not as if it can't help them, but there's no direct impact. A small business, they're not even bothered about common seal filing. They can't even afford all those things. So for me, the next set of amendments,
amendment, yeah,
to focus more on the small business. Now, don't let me chastise the government by saying that they have not done enough in this regard, because new Finance Bill, Finance Act 2020, they address most of these issues. So, for example, though VAT has been increased from 5% to 7.5%, but they have exempted this small business who have a turnover, another turnover of less than 25 million from paying company income tax. So, for me, the KAMA bill or KAMA 2020 has a direct focus on medium enterprise corporates to help them to improve corporate governance, improve the business, etc. The finance bill has a direct impact on small businesses. So as a small business, once I don't do more than 25 million, I don't need to. CIT is 30%. That means if I do 30 million, I'm paying 9 million to the government. The government is saying, don't worry, if you do less than 25, you don't need to pay any company income tax. But your VAT will increase from 5% to 7.5%, and also your payee. So for me, the finance bill or the finance act makes up for the lack of support that KAMA 2020 is not giving to small businesses ab initio. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So the finance bill has helped the small business. Look, guys, in fact, out of every small business in Nigeria, if you want to do a census, this data is just an assumed data. I don't have that information. Out of about, say, 60 million small businesses in Nigeria, I can tell you that maybe only about 10%, that's even too much, maybe only about 5% are doing annual turnovers of more than 25 million. So this new finance bill is jackpot. That means those guys can retain more funds.
Yeah.
Appropriation is taking money out of your system to pay dividend, to pay taxes, and etc. But in this case, they are saying, don't worry, keep the money, plow it back into your business. But the moment you cross that threshold of 25 million, you start paying tax. No problem. Before a small business can do 25 million a year, it means it's doing 2 million a month. Before you can do 2 million a month, it means it's doing an average of 500K a week, which is an average of 100K a day. Anybody in Nigeria today that is doing a turnover of 100,000 naira daily is a big man. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the point is that, yes, the new Finance Act is a major support for small businesses. The KAMA
needs to align in that direction.
You get me? So we need to align that KAMA in the next amendment going forward. So align in that direction.
Now, Mr. Bayo,
as we look at interventions and support, private sector is also showing that, and we're seeing several banks, even major telco companies supporting accelerator programs, and banks even approaching the market with plans for bonds to support the MSME. So does this definitely mean that micro businesses should be given key considerations, because it seems like you said it's more of the medium and large corporates?
Okay, the private sector support. I'm sorry to say, when we talk, I always like to be very upfront and very direct. I'm not going to play lip service to what the private sector is doing, but I can tell you that most of what they are doing is not will not solve that problem. I'm sorry, I'm sound like a broken record. We will still have to go back to data. So a typical bank that wants to support the small business, they don't have the data. They don't have the risk appetite to support a small business. Because for a bank, like you said, it's private sector. Those funds are shareholder funds. They need to maximize the returns on investment for their shareholders. For a small business, you need patience, you need time. You need to give them long-term funds. And the rates, for in finance, we call it risk and return. The risk in the SME space is very high. In finance, the higher the risk, the higher the returns. So you don't expect a private sector-led financial institution to invest in a high risk sector without compensating themselves with high interest rates. So you see why the banks will charge you 20-something%, 18%, because you are high risk. Is the law of finance. It's not their fault. However, the interventions from the government is not enough. The government alone cannot muster that capacity to feed all the small businesses. Now, the advice going forward is for the banks or for the privately led financial institutions to focus on data collection. Now, once they have data, based on that data, they can come up with innovative solutions and products that can fit that sector, where they can also find a way to minimize the risk and reduce the returns. But as it is now, if a small business approaches a bank, you still get money. You can't get any fund at single digits. For a small business in Nigeria today, taking into consideration inflation rates, our risk-free rate in Nigeria is 0.5%, which is treasury bills. Inflation is getting to 15%. Now, what it means is that if I borrow money, 10 million naira at 15% per annum, multiply 15% inflation to that money, to that interest. And by the time I get to the market, the cost of the products I want to buy, inventory, has also gone up with the inflation. So at the end of the day, the cost of capital to that SME is inching close to 30 to 40%. Now, if he does a turnover of 100 and the gross and the cost of goods, I'm sorry, I'm going to a bit of finance, but I just want you to follow me. And the cost of goods is say 60%. That means his gross profit is 40%. There's selling admin expenses. That will take another 20-30%. So his profit margin maybe is 25%. Now, he has to pay 15% interest rate to the bank. Then we adjust for inflation, another 15%. At the end of the day, the man is just working for the bank and making losses. He will continue to take loans, increase the debt until he gets to a point of liquidation or bankruptcy. So I don't know if you understand the way I've explained it.
Definitely.
You cannot blame the banks because they also get expensive funds and they need to maximize shareholder funds until they come up with innovative solutions based on data collected to create products that will fit that sector. That is the only way it can work.
Very clearly stated. Now let's look at
2021. I know one thing that would be a very key step from what you've said is enhancing and leveraging our data points, improving data collection. But what are the other things that are key for the new year, because COVID concerns of a second wave is there and it will still impact businesses, particularly the micro and small businesses. So definitely there has to be a strategy to boost interventions and support to them.
I'm going to go a bit informal. In every economy, in every business, in the life of every individual, there are mountain situations and there are valley situations. Now, this is cyclical and it goes through the lifespan of every country, every business, and every individual. Just follow me. So there are times in your life that you are on the mountain. It means that there is a boom, either in the economy, in your business, or as an individual. There's cash flow, there's liquidity, you are doing well. Exchange rate favors you, the business favors you, environment favors you. And there are times that you'll be in a valley situation. There is a bust where things are not favorable. All prices have come down. The debt is going up. External debt is going up. Domestic debt is going up. Exchange rate, Naira is devalued. As an individual, what 1,000 Naira could buy you during the mountain time, now only you can't even buy half of what you used to buy then. Not any fault of yours, but because of the season, is even in the Bible. Between Joseph and Pharaoh, if you remember, it is a part of life. There are times of famine, there are times of surplus. Now, we're in the valley position in the world, as countries, as businesses, as individuals. This is our valley position. Everything is down. People are complaining. They can't feed, they can't this, they can't that. Now, what are the strategies, or what are we going to do? Because as we are going to 2021, we pray, we hope, and we are envisaging, because there's a vaccine for COVID-19. It means that we have seen the end, or we are almost getting the end of COVID-19. It will take a while before it clears out, but because of that vaccine, at least we can still do our businesses. Now we are getting to a mountain season. Now, what are the things we need to do as a country, as businesses, as individuals, as you are going to as you are moving to a mountain season? I will just highlight some of them, which can be applied in different dimensions. Number one, you spend less. You spend less. You spend less. When I say spend less, as a country, I think we are making mistakes by throwing out money. Oh, this fund, that fund, this fund, that fund. Yes, they are temporary measures, but it does not solve our problem long term. We spend less. When you're in the valley position, spend less. Number two, you start projecting for what is going to happen during the mountain top. Because as we get to 2021, things are going to get better. Now, it is not a time as a small business to start looking for loans. No, it is the time to bootstrap. Just get cash in as much as possible. You want to start a new business, you want to start a new product or service, bootstrap. Use your existing capacity, capabilities, use existing assets. If you have to sell assets, strip this, strip that, and generate as small as possible to start in the new year. As a country, as government, as a CBN, this time that we are in the valley, they should have spent the time to gather data. Of course, it can't be 100%. We are home for months, and nobody thought about it. Now they're saying there's a second wave of COVID-19 coming. Nobody is thinking about it. That look, wait, everybody is at home. Isn't it the time for us to try and gather data? You're at home. We can use technology to gather data. Okay, tell the networks, send messages to people. We can gather data now. Tell us what to do. Press 1 if it's a business. Press 2 if it's a salary earner. Press 3 if you are unemployed. It will not be accurate, but at least 20-30%. We need to gather information, gather data now, so that this budget that was signed yesterday, 13.5 trillion, by the time they are implementing the budget for 2021, it is going to the right places. Look at the budget. They are spending almost, I can't remember the figure, going to debt servicing. So the same problem that we have in the valley time, we might have the same problem when we get to the mountain because we refuse to do the right things. So, like I said, we need to spend less. We need to bootstrap. And the final one and most important is, as we are getting into this mountain, the government needs to focus on the businesses that can generate cash, services that can generate cash, and find a way to support them. Entrepreneurs need to also focus on businesses that can generate cash. If we can produce and generate enough cash locally, it will improve our exchange, it will improve our currency and also our productivity. For me as a business, I create almost 20 employment for 20 people, but we generate, it's a lot of work, but we generate a lot to create employment for 20 people. If everybody can get to that mindset, look, generate, produce, create, that is what we need to do to get to the mountain top. We need to get out of this rent-seeking mentality, which is a part of our culture, rent-seeking. So for me, those are the things that need to be done.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bayo.
The last words is very clear. We need to shift from a rent-seeking economy to a productive economy, and that has to do with focusing on those businesses that are value-generating and leveraging on data, because data is very key. Spend less and then project for the mountain, which will be the experience of surplus. We look forward to a very interesting 2021, but thank you very much, Mr. Bayo Ogunnusi, CEO of TQM Capital, for the very broad insights you brought to the review of policy interventions for MSMEs this year. COVID-19 really had its impact. Even the recession, which we are still in, has its impact. And like you said, even the federal budget of over 13 trillion naira, a lot has to be done in terms of specifically supporting the micro and small businesses, because every time we talk about MSME, it's more of medium and large. And I hope that will really change in 2020 and beyond, so that we can achieve inclusive economic growth and create employment for millions of Nigerians, lifting them from poverty. Thank you very much, Mr. Bayo Ogunnusi. Once again, it's been nice having you on the show, and hope to have you in subsequent editions. And that will be all for this edition of the Economy and Politics Show. You can join our website, www.proshng.com, to read articles, rich articles on MSMEs, cut across tech startups, MSME activities, policy and regulations, and even MSME associations and what they are doing. Don't forget, the website is www.proshng.com. And based on our discussions today, if you have questions or comments around how the policy is helping MSME development in the country and areas that you need improvements in the policy space, you can send your views and comments to news@proshng.com, and also you can tag us at WebTVNG. Some areas that can give you a hint of what you need to look at are the CAMA 2020 and also the Fiscal Act, Fiscal Bill 2020, which has been signed. How will this impact MSMEs and what needs to be improved in those areas? Let's make it interactive. Send your views and comments. We'll respond appropriately. Till we come your way again, let's make this conversation happen, same time. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day and stay safe.